Hello there and welcome to CNR Extra here on CCTV, coming to you live from our studios at number 5 Wula Hansen Lane, Tesano, Accra. My name is Philip Latte. Coming up. Speaker of Parliament seeks Supreme Court's clarification on an expansion Kweson's name from records.
I did indicate and I mentioned to some members of the court, the Supreme Court, that there is a need for clarification. Because expunge doesn't mean delete.
Pensioner Bondholders Forum to petition Shraj over the government's refusal to pay accrued interest.
We have said that if government is not going to do that, we still want it to be done. And so in that case, we will need an arbiter. So we have suggested that we will submit the matter to Shraj.
Upper East Butchers Association laments business impact as anthrax outbreak prompt livestock slaughters banned.
There's enough treatment, an effective treatment that can cure you. All we need from you is support.
And later on CNR Extra, President Akufo-Addo prioritizes welfare and rehabilitation of prison inmates, emphasizes investment in prison services.
This government and prison authorities have put in place pragmatic interventions in healthcare, food security, education and skills training, among
Once again, welcome to CNR Extra here on CTTV. You can join us with your thoughts, submissions, and comments via WhatsApp line 0204-447033. Also, we are streaming live on YouTube. You can join us there on CityTube. Jude Mensah Duncan, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Philip.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, by the grace of God. It's been a long week, but we are at the end of it successfully.
Too much excitement.
Weekend is upon us. And
but you know, this weekend I'm still working. So. Let's bring you the very first story. And the Speaker of Parliament is seeking Supreme Court's clarification on expansion Judge Kweson's name from its records. Let's bring you that insert.
Speaker of the House, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, is asking the Supreme Court to provide clarity on its directive to Parliament to expunge the name of the then Member of Parliament for Asin North, James Judge Kweson, from his records. This comes after some members of Parliament raised concerns about how to implement the order of the Supreme Court, since the standing orders of the House does not provide a clear path on such directive. Reacting to the matter, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, says all activities participated in by the then MP for Asin North since January 2021 would hold until steps have been taken on the way forward.
During proceedings on Thursday, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, demanded clarity from the Supreme Court on its directive to Parliament to expunge the name of the then Member of Parliament for Asin North, James Judge Kweson, from its records.
And what has just happened is strong evidence that there is a need for clarification. Don't forget that the order is predicated on a number of declaratory rulings by the court. It was not just given in isolation. There were 4 earlier declaratory judgments before the order came as the 5th. If you read the judgment, and those earlier declaratory judgments stated that the election of the member was unconstitutional. The reasons for that were stated. And as a result of that, it was null and void and of no effect. before the order came that we should expunge. In fact, it did not say the speaker should expunge. And it did not say any member of parliament should expunge. And it did not also say the clerk should expunge. It says the institution called parliament. That's straight from the Supreme Court. So that institution must carry out the order. The only way the institution can carry out the order is for the institution to reason together. And that is only done in a sitting.
Following the deactivation of SIM cards after the May 31 deadline issued by the government for the re-registration of SIM cards, concerns have been raised about locked-up funds on Momo accounts. Providing an update on the SIM re-registration exercise in Parliament on Thursday, the Minister of Communications and Digitalization, Esla, to ensure that persons with locked-up funds retrieve them, although they would not be able to transact business with the SIM cards. She also issued a one-month ultimatum to subscribers of over 280,000 merchant SIMs to register them or have them blocked after the June 30 deadline.
I'm also informed that almost 280,000 merchant SIMs have not been registered. And a viral video doing the rounds on social media a few weeks ago indicated that some criminal networks have actually acquired merchant SIMs to facilitate their fraudulent activities. Let me reiterate once again that all unregistered merchant SIMs will be blocked permanently at the end of June 2023. So far, 28,948,142 SIMs have been fully registered, while 999,419 have been exempted. And so the total active SIMs are 947,561.
Esla Usuekofolo also says her outfit would engage the Clerk of Parliament's office to ensure the complete registration process for the reactivation of the Speaker's official SIM card.
My information is that the SIM cards of some members of Parliament and even the Speaker and leadership were affected by this exercise. The MNOs have been in Parliament several times to assist members to complete the process, and will continue to work with the clerk's office to facilitate registration for those who want to complete the exercise. By implementing a comprehensive SIM registration exercise, the government aims to reduce fraud, enhance security, and promote responsible use of SIM cards for the benefit of all. I'm counting on the support of colleague MPs to complete this exercise, which will inure to the benefit of all the good people of Ghana.
The minister also urged subscribers with genuine concerns regarding the acquisition of the Ghana card to liaise with the National Communications Authority in resolving the concern.
In recognition of the fact that not everyone has a Ghana card, individuals who have not registered their SIMs have been asked to submit evidence of having applied for their Ghana have also been exempted from the registration process. Once they activate roaming on their devices, the MNOs can identify that they are outside the country, and they are expected to register their SIM cards using their passports. The NCA has also directed that SIM cards detected to be outside the country for a period of 6 months to be temporarily exempted until the subscribers can complete their registration. Some subscribers may also encounter genuine difficulties in completing their registration, and the NCA has directed them to contact the NCA for assistance via email or the SIM Operational Support Center on toll-free number 0800 110 622.
Reacting to the presentation by the Minister for Communications and Digitalization, the Member of Parliament for Tamale South, Haruna Idrisu, says the deactivation of SIM cards has affected many social relationships.
Minister, you are the last person we should be discussing the viability and social significance of mobile telephony. Those whose SIMs have so been blocked, some have suffered relationship problems. Some probably have lost their girlfriends, contact with their significant others. Even some have been threatened with divorce, very possible, because why have you not reached out to him or to her? Because your SIM has been blocked. That excuse, she may be creating problems for many marriages with this SIM block as a social problem. But Mr. Speaker, on a more serious note, you know, mobile telephony is significant, Minister. So we are saying that don't just block SIMs when the fault or problem is not from the person who is holding the SIM.
Leader,
we all must.
1 minute. Honourable members, having regards to the state of the business of the House, I direct that the House sits outside the regular sitting hours. Now you may continue.
Mr. Speaker, just take even birthdays, those who forget people's birthday, whether for purpose of entertainment, for purpose of personal emergencies. Mobile phone is important, alarms and reminders. Now people steady on it. So the principle of SIM registration, be assured that you have the wholehearted support of this House.
The Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram Pram, Samuel Nate George, later addressed the media, where he made it clear that the next NDC government would embark on another SIM registration exercise.
It is not true that they are using this to fight crime. Because don't forget, the Ghana card fundamentally is flawed. And that's why we have served notice that the next NDC government will do a proper re-registration of SIM cards, which will not involve you having to go and queue in telecom offices, but we will do a proper re-registration of SIM cards.
Reporting from Parliament, my name is Ni Ayukwe Okain, 4 City News.
So a number of issues in there, starting with the Speaker of Parliament seeking the Supreme Court's clarification on expansion Judge Kwesi's name from the records, and also that of the SIM card registration exercise that has taken center stage in our day-to-day activities. But let's start off with the permission or say clarification from the Supreme Court. Well, the Member of Parliament for Boku Central, Mahama Yarega, has also disclosed that Parliament will write to the Supreme Court to demand an explanation of its ruling directing the House to expunge the ousted Member of Parliament for Asin North, Judge Kwesi's name from its records. Well, what do you make of this clarification that Parliament is demanding from the Supreme Court?
Philip, if you followed this whole issue of the Asin North nationality case leading on to the expunging of Mr. James Judge Kwesi from Parliament, I mean, throughout the legal processes, right, there were some declaratory judgments. So the final judgment we saw from the Supreme Court was not in isolation. Other things led up to that point where we saw the Supreme Court say, okay, now this is the time, expand his name from the records of Parliament. I mean, they declared the election at the point as null and void. For each reason, there's supposed to be a rerun, and we've seen Asin North. So it wasn't in isolation. But I see the lawyers would also tell you that the wording of the Supreme Court justices are very deliberate, right? So they think through the words they use. They don't just use any word. And if they say expunge, where a lot of the controversy is coming from, so from the Speaker's point of view, we understand that the judgment, the statement said that Parliament should, and didn't specifically give out who is to carry out the order, whether the Clerk of Parliament, whether himself as Speaker, or political leadership, or the board, we don't know. So it just said Parliament. And a lot of people have said, well, that is not really a case, because then when it comes to that, it's just the leadership of Parliament who should take action, starting from the Speaker's office. That's a different thing. But go back to the wording of the judgment. When the Supreme Court says expunge, I mean, a simple definition or Google search of the meaning will say to obliterate or to remove completely. And that is where the confusion is emanating. To say we are taking away all the records of Mr. James Judge Kwesi from Parliament. Does it also mean that his votes on the floor are going to be affected, in that you are taking all of those from the records and the hazards of Parliament. Does it also mean that his statements on the floor of Parliament are also going to be taken out? Has it informed any policy in the past? Has it contributed to any major decision? I mean, mind you, he voted in the election leading to the Speaker of Parliament. Exactly. I mean, are we also going to say that now that election is also going to be declared null and void? So I think these are the ambiguities. He served on committees. So these are the ambiguities, in my opinion, that needs to be resolved, so that going forward we know how this is going to be treated if subsequent cases come. But I also think it's a step in the right direction for Parliament to seek some level of clarification from the Supreme Court on what the next line of action is, especially considering the fact that there's a by-election coming up shortly. He may win or may not win. Either way, it's important that a proper precedent is set, so that there's a lot of clarity and to inform a lot of decision making going forward. But I think that it's interesting, and for me, I think it's a plus for our democracy, where we see all arms of government come together, work together, nobody trying to outmuscle each other, but just trying to come together for a common good and for posterity.
So the demand for the clarification is a step in the right direction. Well, let's put that aside, and now let's go to the SIM card registration exercise. The ranking member on the Communications Committee, that is Ningo registration exercise afresh and doing it properly. I don't know.
Even before in that particular report from our colleague Nia Yuko Kwan in Parliament, I mean, it was interesting, the remarks from the former minority leader Haruna Idris. I mean, he says that people cannot reach their girlfriends and their spouses.
And people are losing contacts and all that.
I mean, that was particularly interesting from Haruna Idris. I mean, he still got his sense of humor. I mean, his charismatic self on the floor. So that's great to see. I mean, Sam George by far is, you could call him shadow communications minister,
because he has been on this from day one.
That's true.
It's been said that he's the principal, the rector for the Stubborn Academy.
And with these utterances, I mean, when you boldly in front of the parliamentary press corps say that the next NDC government is going to, that's pretty interesting. I mean, why not better what is already happening? I mean, are we going to use the taxpayers' money?
The exercise has a lot of challenges.
Yeah, and
acquiring the Ghana card, people,
which is the lead fundamental problem in all of it. I think the problems as a result of the acquisition of the Ghana card are legitimate concerns that need to be addressed. But Philip, to be fair, I think we should also give the government and the communication ministry some room, because I mean, this has been going on for how long? I mean, the NCA on radio, on TV, everywhere. I think the public drive and sensitization for people to acquire the Ghana cards were there. So for me, if you have a Ghana card and you've not registered your SIM card, it's a problem, because then it appears very deliberate, unless of course you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
And that is what the Communications Minister Isla Wusu is saying.
Yeah, because
if you can prove to the National Communications Authority that you have issues with your Ghana card or you've not acquired it, then they can take it up from.
So I think then that is fair, and it's a win-win situation for. But I mean, there are people who wanted to, for whatever reason, test the system and they find themselves in the situation. I don't have any pity for people like that. But I think that for people who genuinely had problems with acquiring the Ghana card, and mind you, we've heard the challenges from Mr. Atefa and his team, people unable, genuinely, I mean, people who've also misplaced their Ghana card and are struggling to get replacements and all of that. So it's interesting that the minority will say they'll undertake. I mean, so this will be like the fourth or the fifth in just about 8 years, and for me, I don't think, or I don't know the kind of feasibility studies that has gone into this from Mr. Sam George and the minority. But whatever the case is, I hope that the government is able to resolve the challenges for people who genuinely had problems with their Ghana card and other issues. For which reason they couldn't register their SIM
Rightly
cards.
so. So there is a toll-free number that is 08001106222. That's quite long, but you have to memorize it. Then you can call if you have any issue with the registration exercise, that the re-registration of your Ghana card. Well, it could be rectified. And if you don't have your Ghana card ready to enable you to register your SIM card, it's also an issue. But this can be resolved when you call 0800110622. Let's move away from this story and bring you what the pensioner bondholders are asking for. Well, they are saying that they will petition Shraj over government's refusal to pay accrued interest.
The Pensioner Bondholders Forum is sent a petition to the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice Shraj following the government's refusal to pay accrued interest on outstanding principal payments. The Finance Ministry had a meeting with the group but failed to meet their demand for interest on the
and principles.
Or not. So and then we know the response of the government, but the government will also put perhaps the
At market, only accept principals along with the accrued.
To make a proposal, and the proposal or to convert. We have suggested to government that if on principal plus accrued plus principal and the interest. Me out. So bring your it should be at principal plus. While we're doing the DD converted into the new bonds.
Meeting, the finance ministry, starting from June 5, have chosen to
this guy was that they were supposed to pay you up to 29th at last week's had received any alert that for the banks to credit our accounts, but we haven't seen any crediting from the banks. So once anything alert system working today, we will
the Pensioner Bondholders Forum at a meeting earlier today. principles, but government says that on these outstanding principles, capital markets. Hello. And so if you keep taking up this matter with Straj, if they have the right schedule to pick it today, because that they've not received any alerts if by tomorrow. My name is Charles.
So the pensioner bondholders are not relenting at all. They are keeping the payment of accrued interest.
Yeah.
And if that is not done,
I mean, so you understand that there's about 4 outstanding principal payments government.
yes,
It's just about the most effective pressure group in the country right now. Money, so it's understandable why Dr. Anane Entry, Anane Entry was on Eyewitness News, and Sandra was pushing. He says that, see, these are our monies. This is how we are going there to pick it, irrespective of the weather conditions and everything. And come to think about it, week in, week out, during some of these pensioner bondholders, how they are able to survive and buy their medications as a result of the timely payment. It's not being violent, it's not and for some justice. So it will be interesting government response. The space will tell you that all this is happening because government finds itself in the living, and then
it's financial.
That some of the conditionalities of the IMF program too is what has caused some of these to find some solution to the plight of these
I know the finance ministry
but clearly she still did not have the solution. Francis, and of course make those commitments needed.
Act as unpractical. Let's stay with us. We're back with more stories.
If you're a whiz kid that collects straight A's in your sleep, a brain even trying, or a They're clever clogs that for the best junior high students words. Write a story that ends with the following statement: the happiest people do not have the best of everything, they make the best of everything they have. Stories should be written in satire. Submissions must include your guardian and their full contact details. And once you're done, shoot off your entries to the front desk of City TV or City FM, or you can P1 0558 and is sponsored by the Ghana National Gas Company and 4